Before we start today's show, I want to invite you to check out our good friends at fantasychamps.com. If you need a fantasy football championship ring, they have a stainless steel option. They have a gems option that you can show off to all of your league mates from here into eternity. If you need a fantasy football trophy, they got large, small Lombardi-style trophies. They've got an armchair champions trophy, and then they've got the big kahuna, the crystal trophy and the gold trophy for your league, custom engraving, the absolute best place to get your customized fantasy football championship gear. That's fantasychamps.com. Use the promo code BALLERS.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome, one and all, to the show. It is Wednesday, November 15th. Andy, Mike, and Jason, the Fantasy Footballers, back once again, and I hope you had a wonderful waiver wire morning. Everything went well. Mike is dancing. Jason is head bobbing.
Feels like I'm running at a very rapid rate.
All things you can see on YouTube. Mike is still running.
60 minutes, man. Trying to burn those calories.
Good luck.
Get my sweat on.
How'd your? I guess our waiver wire, as of this moment, hasn't quite gone through yet. But.
Yeah, but I'm predicting it's going to go very well.
Okay, good. Confidence. It's a key to fantasy football success. Welcome into the show. We've got a good one for you today. Pump the brakes on the show. Going to talk through some season-defining stats. That's what I'm calling them. Some things that have happened this year that have really affected fantasy football teams and the way that the season has gone. And so we'll reflect on some of that, talk about what that looks like rest of season. And look, this is the time of year where you're clinching a little bit. You're the fantasy playoffs.
I wasn't sure if
which
it was
part
like,
of you is clinching.
It's like, am I clinching the playoffs or am I clinching?
Yeah, we'll go with that. You're clinching.
I'm holding things in.
You're just kind of a little bit more anxious about your decision-making process here. Now you might be like, I don't know, me in our Dynasty League, 10-0, not a care in the world, just floating through the air.
That's false. He's very worried about my team.
Yeah, actually, I'm worried about losing one game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. To me.
Yeah, Mike is really sure that he's going to be the one to New York Giants me.
Foot Clint, this dynasty team. Unbelievable.
What was that again?
Unbelievable. That's for the YouTubers.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. I'm talking about my running. And my
Anyways, this is the time when these decisions, they get, trade deadlines. They're either done or about to be done, so you can make a final move. Hopefully, you're in a league that does not permit trading all the way through the playoffs. If you are, change it. Change it now. That would be my vote.
To change it,
yes.
you think just majority vote?
Why go through another year where that can disrupt your league? It's inappropriate, Jason.
I get that, and I think it's a stupid thing, but I would argue that you shouldn't change it in season. You should change it for next year because people have decided to make moves or to not make moves based on when that trade deadline was.
If you can get a consensus in your league, make a compelling case, tell everybody, look, let's move this thing from being a year-round, no trade deadline to 2 weeks before the playoffs, and everybody wants to do it, I'm like, sure.
Well, if everybody wants to, sure.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll talk through a bunch of decisions that you've got to make today. The Twitter is at the FF Ballers. We're on iTunes. Thank you to everybody who leaves us reviews.
Yes.
5-star reviews on iTunes supports the show. That's big for how we show up on iTunes and getting people to listen. So,
and we've been more active over on Instagram as well. You got to check that out.
We call it the Gram.
The Gram.
Is that what we do that now?
Mm-hmm.
Just started.
That's what the kids are calling it.
Tip.
TheFantasyFootballers.com is the website. Our communities join thefoot.com, and I'm excited about today's show. It is Wednesday, which of course means
O'Reilly.
Auto Parts. Ow! It is Pump the Brakes with O'Reilly Auto Parts, where we take a look at some of the big performers of the week before and tell you to just pump those brakes. Slow down. It might not be as good this week as it was last week. And I am pumping the brakes this week on Larry Fitzgerald.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
What
Yeah.
are you doing over there?
Look, when you look at Larry Fitzgerald's home road splits, it's unbelievable how well he performs at home, and comparing that to how he performs on the road, this was right, 12.2 difference in fantasy points?
Yeah.
Home road splits. Mike, was that over this season when you looked at that?
Yeah, I'm trying to verify it right now.
But it's massive. You need only pull up his game log to see how well he plays at home versus on the road. And let me throw another wrench into the Larry Fitzgerald hype train, okay? And that is Blaine Gabbert. Now, I think Blaine Gabbert's a better quarterback than Drew Stanton. But I know that Drew Stanton locks in on Larry Fitzgerald when the going gets tough. I think that makes a bad quarterback a lot of the time. If you are just in a desperate place using one weapon, it's good.
Tom Savage.
Tom Savage, yeah. It's good for Larry, but it's bad for the team. And so if Gabbert's a better quarterback, he'll spread the ball around. He's on the road against Houston. I'm not enthusiastic about Larry having another monster week, so I am pumping the brakes.
Yeah, I got 12.2 points better at home.
That's just
by my calculations.
that's like a whole player.
Yes, it's not the best. I am going to pump the brakes. Now, I'm a little shocked that I have to be the one to do this as the resident.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon hater is the word that you're
I was trying to find a nice way of putting it, but I accept your term of endearment with pride. But Austin Eckler, yeah, okay, he had a monster game. He had 2 receiving touchdowns of over 20 yards. I mean, this was a great performance. The previous 3 weeks combined in those 3 games, 16 total touches. He is a handcuff. Is he a very valuable handcuff? I think so, if something were to happen to Melvin Gordon. But despite
There's no standalone
despite
value.
my lack of belief in Melvin Gordon, I don't think that the Chargers are going to move away from him and giving him that extremely high volume of touches. And I see a lot of people out in the Twitter sphere and talking about waivers and saying that Eckler's a priority pickup.
So you're responding to that.
Yeah, exactly. I do not see that. Yeah, exactly. It's coming through. Watch your face because the hype train's going to run you over.
Yeah, I don't think you originally had picked Eckler for this segment
No,
until
I did not.
you started to see the hype being built up around this kind of
I got to put that kibosh on.
Yeah,
it.
no.
Stop it.
got to control the people.
All right. Speaking about controlling the people, I'm going to talk about the king here, King Goffrey. Jared Goff. Yes. Take the crown off that man. Look, Jared Goff has been on fire. I mean, the last 2 weeks, he's put up 7 touchdowns. If you're in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, you're talking about almost averaging 40 fantasy points a game. So you want to stay in those flames. You want to roll with them. I say, not so fast. You have a very big difference in Jared Goff when he plays teams like the New York Giants and Houston, the teams he just played, where he torched them, both of which have subpar or awful, in the case of the New York Giants, defenses when it comes to the passing game, to the quarterback position. And when you see the games where he played Seattle and threw 2 interceptions, fumbled the ball, no touchdowns, or Jacksonville, which I don't blame him.
Is that true that he had 2 interceptions and a fumble against Seattle?
Yeah.
That's incredible because I was just looking at his stats on the year. He's the 5th lowest turnover percentage in the league at the quarterback position. Only 5 turnovers on the year.
Yeah,
apparently they were
Seattle
all
got
against Seattle.
Yeah. He only has 2 other games with an interception. But one of the things about his schedule, if you look at it, it's been fantastic.
I was just going to give you some numbers here, Jay. He has 6 games against bottom 16 pass defenses, and he's averaging almost 21 points a game. The 3 games where he has faced a top defense, under 12 points a game.
Does it remind
big
you
difference.
of Derek Carr's breakout season last year?
A little bit it does.
Where you can take, you've kind of – it's not that Goff hasn't leveled up. It's that we haven't had the opportunity to have that validation in tough matchups.
And moving forward, I do like Goff. I think he has some juicy matchups coming up. But I'm with Jason on this one, that this particular week, I'm not I'm not ecstatic about playing him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be someone you have to bench. He'll probably be around my quarterback 15, so you might be forced to play him. He's not going to be like, oh, you can't start this guy. But Minnesota's a great defense. It's in Minnesota. And the only 2 other games that he has played a top 10 passing defense, he's been bad. So pumping the brakes on Jared Goff. And not only that, but when I looked, I mean, this is probably the most important stat. I was looking at what he did the last 2 weeks.
Analysis.
Yeah, this is hard-cutting analysis. No interceptions. Well, that's pretty good. 7 touchdowns the last 2 games.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Then I was adding up those yards. He had 311 yards and 355 yards.
55.
That adds up to 666 yards.
Oh, no.
Oh!
It's the mark of the beast.
The mark of the beast. You got to pump those brakes. You got to pump those brakes. There you go.
All right,
that analysis.
That was Pump the Brakes with O'Reilly Auto Parts.
With science.
Better parts, better prices every day with O'Reilly. Larry Fitzgerald, Jared Goff, Austin Eckler. Thank you, Jason. We appreciate that.
News and notes from around the league.
Nice work.
You know what is amazing? I feel like the Rams this year are the equivalent of one of those 30-minute infomercials with one of those degreasers, where they keep showing you like your pots and pans and just one wipe and you see the shine.
Uh-huh.
And the pan before was what Jeff Fisher represented as a coach. Like, it's just dirtied up, and then the more you scrape and the more you scrub this year with the Sean McVay mixture, the shine, it just comes out. Todd Gurley's shiny again.
Well,
Jared Goff doesn't look like a buzz.
You know who else is shiny? Case Keenum.
Oh, see, you brought that up yesterday.
I mean, you escaped the clutches of the Emperor.
Right, because he had Fisher last year.
Yes. So I just wanted to jump on Jason's science here. Devontae Parker was 6 for 66, Jason.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Watch out.
This is what we've become.
Yes, the fantasy footballers, hard-hitting statistical. That is statistical analysis.
There you go.
We are doing math.
All right. News.
All right, news and notes. Big one.
Big news.
Big news this morning. Nathan Peterman is getting the start this Sunday against the Chargers. The Bills are starting the rookie. Tyrod Taylor, not getting it done. I think. Let's see what happens. I mean, let's see the upside. Look, the passing volume, never been there with Tyrod. Peterman himself is not a fantasy option to me.
No.
Outside of a 2-quarterback stream bye-week situation. However, maybe he represents upside for guys like, Zay Jones if he returns, Kelvin Benjamin,
Jordan Matthews,
Charles Clay. I mean, it just comes down to moving the ball. We said this. If they can't move the ball, they didn't move the ball last week.
Right. And I agree. The Bills' offense has been bad for the past couple of weeks. But Tyrod Taylor was not allowing the Saints to run the ball 24 straight times.
Right. Yeah.
So, like I said, they've been rough. I just think that Tyrod's getting a little bit of the raw
Too
edge.
much of the blame.
Yeah.
What does this do for LaShawn McCoy? Does it hurt or help LaShawn McCoy?
I think it hurts LaShawn McCoy. We have enough statistical analysis to show that running quarterbacks usually open up lanes for the running back.
And Tyrod hyper targets Shady McCoy.
Yeah, so you've got probably a lessening of his targets, more stacking of the box. I also worry that this could end up hurting Charles Clay. Now, sometimes younger quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks that come in, they rely on that tight end. So I'm not saying it will hurt Charles Clay, but what we have seen from Tyrod Taylor over years is his absolute reliance on that tight end. Charles Clay goes down. Nick O'Leary steps up and is utilized heavily in that game. And I don't think that is the Buffalo Bills scheme necessarily.
I actually think Kelvin Benjamin hurts Charles Clay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe both.
Certainly could.
I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other. But Charles Clay, who before he got injured looked like, you got to start him every week because he's just too involved in this slew of tight ends. I'm not confident in starting Charles Clay, certainly not this week while you have Kelvin Benjamin coming in and you have a new quarterback. And now there's other weapons there. So Charles Clay takes a bump down.
That's the argument for me. I mean, Jordan Matthews, he was banged up towards the beginning of the year. that was another equation for Charles Clay's involvement. Now you've got more weapons, like you said. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Rob Kelley. Placed on IR. So Samaje Perine, we talked about him yesterday. He was part of the waiver show. This is an update. We didn't know that Rob Kelley would be on IR. He's now done for the year.
Yeah, it's a big upgrade to the potential for
sure,
Perine
longer
because
term.
It's his job.
Yeah,
unless he fumbles it away.
You're going to see the future of Samaje Perine in these next few weeks because he now has the opportunity to be the guy, and he will be given that opportunity out of necessity. If he proves himself, then you've got a guy in a keeper league and a dynasty league that will probably go into next year being a great back. And if he fails, they will probably – there's going to be enough season left here to where I don't think you can have hope in Perine next year if he does not succeed with this opportunity.
Greg Olsen's supposed to suit up for the Panthers in Week 12 against the Jets. So great opportunity for him to get back on the field. And with Curtis Samuel now being placed on IR with an ankle injury, I think this helps Greg Olsen. We saw drops out of Russell Shepard last week.
Oh, man.
And not little drops,
so
like
bad for
big
him.
boy drops.
But
he's another player that you can look at as a stream because it's not going to be Devin S. Funchess. Devin S. Funchess. Scrumptious. I'm losing track of this player.
Pronounced
name.
with an umptious.
Devin Funchess cannot. Oh, great.
I got Jason on that one.
He cannot sustain an entire offense. Being the number one, the talent level does not sustain this offense. And if you looked at the good game he had last week, a giant chunk of that was a late game kind of out of reach touchdown. Right. So,
Brooks, make a note next week. I want to make sure that we have Russell Shepard on our waiver show next week and we don't forget about him because he is easy to forget about. He's on bye, so you don't need to pick him up right now. But I think next week, Russell Shepard, we don't know how involved he'll be, but he'll certainly be worthy of streaming.
The interest for me is, can Christian McCaffrey keep up those targets once Greg Olsen is back?
I think he will. I do. I think he will.
This is just something I'm interested in. I'm not planting a flag saying they will go away.
Cam Newton takes the snap, I feel like there's a magnet that just the ball wants to go to Christian McCaffrey right now, even though he's been not everything I would have hoped. He came in with the Reggie Bush hype.
Half-point PPR, Christian McCaffrey is currently the running back 13.
Yeah.
And appears to be closing in as a running back 1.
CJ Prosise, injured reserve. He's done.
Yep.
Phillip Rivers, looking good for him to play this week, progressing through the concussion protocol.
Do you move J.D. McKissick up for Seattle now as the locked and loaded pass-catching running back?
Yeah, and
there's not Rawls and it's not Lacey.
Yeah, there's no upside for Seattle to kind of experiment elsewhere. I mean, McKissick represents hopefully a future value for them. The only time that Prosise can come back is in the playoffs now, based on this IR designation. So, yeah, I'd move him up. The Saints, welcome back, Jonathan Williams.
Hey!
He's been signed off the Broncos practice squad, so just interesting to
You're so sad.
You're so sad about Jonathan Williams? Are you sad for the Broncos, the depth of their practice squad?
Yeah, that's it.
That's a big hit.
That definitely wasn't an accident. All right. I want to talk some season-defining stats, but I'll let you guys jump in for a second.
Before we talk about those, want to thank today's sponsor, SeatGeek. We love SeatGeek. I just went to the Cardinals game, took my Pops for his birthday the Thursday night football
Color Rush game.
It was a great game despite the fact that we lost, but of course I used SeatGeek to get the tickets because it's the only place to get tickets. It is super easy. You're going to get the best price. They put they're searching all the different ticket places, so you don't have to. The best part about SeatGeek, if you download the app's free. Make sure you get it so that whenever on a whim you go, I want to go to this game. In fact, when I was walking up to the game, I wanted to know where my entrance was, so I just pulled up the actual app just to look at the stadium because you can zoom in on it. And I mean, this is right before the game. You can still buy tickets. I was like, wow. SeatGeek's got it together. So
wow.
Wow. No, SeatGeek is great. Anything music, concerts, sporting events, and you can get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. So download the SeatGeek app. Enter the promo code FOOTBALLERS today. That's promo code FOOTBALLERS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
We want to thank Pro Flowers for sponsoring the show. Fellas, Fall is here. You know what that means? That means that the leaves are coming off the trees. That means I have to wear sleeves now.
Yeah.
When I go outside, people have this weird snow stuff showing up. It's also PSL time.
What's that?
Pumpkin spice lattes. You know we're about that life. My wife loves the pumpkin spice lattes, and she really also enjoys when I get her something from Pro Flowers, including a lovely bouquet that we just got recently. It's fantastic. You always put it up on the ledge by the window. It spruces up the house. And Pro Flowers, they make finding a perfect gift easy for loved ones. You got it. It takes you over the top, fellas. They got their best-selling cinnamon cider roses. It's a great option. Or you can go with one of the classics like the 100 Autumn Blooms or a dozen Autumn Roses. You can't lose no matter which bouquet you send because the Foot Clan can get 20% off any Pro Flowers unique bouquet of $29 or more. Just log on, you pick that exact date, they make it easy, and Pro Flowers guarantees they will stay fresh for at least 7 days or get your money back. To get 20% off all bouquets of $29 or more, go to proflowers.com, use our code BALLERS. At checkout, that's proflowers.com. The code is BALLERS. Don't wait to make someone's day.
All right. We are going to preview the Thursday night matchup as well on the show today. Before we do that, I wanted to bring to your attention a few interesting season-defining stats.
Season-defining stats.
I want to get your opinion on a few players and situations, team situations. Let's start here. One of my favorite players in the NFL from a pure skill standpoint is Jarvis Landry. I think he is incredible. This year, he's already reached his season high in touchdowns, his career high. 5 touchdowns this season so far, leads the league in receptions with 61, third in the league in targets with 97. And so I want to know, what do you guys think? Can he finish as a wide receiver 1 for the first time in his career in a half PPR league?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no. He is obviously currently in a half-point PPR. He is a wide receiver 1. He's the 12th best wide receiver, and I love Jarvis Landry. I agree with everything you said. I think he's an exceptional wide receiver, but he has more touchdowns than I think you would expect. I don't think the pace that he's been scoring touchdowns will continue when you look at 2 factors. One is what you mentioned, basically Jarvis Landry's career. He's never been that. But the second is the Dolphins' offense. The Dolphins' offense is not this high-powered machine that I expect to be putting up a lot of points to help, keep this pace.
It's more of an offense.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, Brooks?
I'm going to need a ruling from the judge on that one.
Brooks.
Don't they have a terrible
Offense?
No.
How about the Miami?
They do, but
the Miami Dolphins.
Nope.
Not the Dolphins?
Sorry, guys. Just
Okay, I had this incredible joke
Yeah.
about the Saints being the sun just shining on Shady, and you're over here
No.
disparaging me for that comment and throwing out things like the Dolphins.
All right, the
This
Dolphins
is
were
erroneous
awful.
on all accounts.
All right,
You've
but
already got your verdict. Move on.
the point here.
Never.
Jarvis Landry's never been a down the field type of receiver.
No, actually, I saw he's 3.5 yards is where he catches the ball on average.
And that's what I was going to say. That's low, even for Jarvis
It
Landry.
is. He's normally at the 5.
So you can't expect a guy getting 3.5 yards per target in the air to get touchdowns at this pace. So, no, I don't think he finishes as a wide receiver 1.
Do you agree with that, Mike?
I agree that it's.
But shouldn't he? I mean, wouldn't that just be nice?
It would
he's
be
a-
very nice.
I like Jarvis Landry a lot, but with the kind of the breakout of now, it's not like a smashing out, but Devontae Parker is emerging as a very usable weapon for that offense. Jay Cutler's also using old man Julius Thomas, so I don't think he will finish there as a 1. I was looking at the contract situation because Jarvis Landry's a free agent next year, so it's going to be very interesting to see what he wants to do.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's going to make a huge difference where he lands and what the other weapons around him are, the type of offense that he's on. I tend to believe that they'll keep him there, but we'll see what happens if they
They're
can
going to
afford
have to
do
pay
that.
him.
Here's another, we know there are sentences that we're saying right now at Week 11 that we never imagined we'd say in the beginning of the year. I think yesterday in the office we brought up the fact that one of the big games this week is Goff versus Keenum, right? This is not an expectation we had before the year. Now,
Says you.
my 10-0, 10 wins, 0 losses. Dynasty team, 0 losses. That team has the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and that's Carson.
So wait, you have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, right?
Yes, Andrew Luck and Cam Newton. No, Carson Wentz and Alex Smith. And when you look at the amount of touchdowns per attempt this year, Carson Wentz leads the way. 23 touchdowns on just 291 pass attempts. That's 1 per 12.7 attempts.
He is tied for the 15th most attempts in the league. And
right.
But he has the most passing touchdowns.
There you go. Alex Smith, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady.
Those don't generally correlate.
No. So let us be a discerning voice for fantasy owners, because I don't want to be reactionary about coming back to the norm, but we have to be reasonable about Carson Wentz and his expectation. I think his skill level, his ability to run the ball, get outside the pocket, make things happen, deep ball has been amazing this year. They all afford a lot of upside to him long term, but those numbers are pretty crazy. So do we expect Carson Wentz to end up – well, let me ask you this. How many of these players do you expect to end up in the top 5 this year? Carson Wentz, Alex Smith, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady. Those are the players leading the way in terms of touchdowns per attempt.
I will go Brady.
Is a yes.
Yes. Wilson is a yes. I think Alex Smith is a yes, and Carson Wentz. I think Jared Goff is the only one I believe will not be a top 5 at the end of the year.
I concur.
Thank you.
You think Carson Wentz will end up at number 1 where he is now?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so, but he's locked in as a top 3 guy for me, but I'm not going to put him at number 1.
One of the bigger surprises this year has been Chris Thompson. He's averaged 13 yards per reception, best in the league. He's the RB10 in half PPR leagues. He's averaging 55 rushing yards or receiving yards a game, and we know Rob Kelley is on the way out. And thus far, if I had to give a verdict on Samaje Perine, it would be a middling player.
So you're sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison for your performance.
Sure. We'll be severe about Perine's performance, especially
I was
Mike.
being kind.
You were a big Perine guy.
I was, yeah.
But Chris Thompson, can he finish as an RB1? If he's RB10 right now, and with the way the backfield landscape is,
yes, I think.
You believe he will?
Yeah, I believe he will finish as a
league winner type of guy.
I mean, I suppose, because if you grabbed him off of waivers in those early weeks, he has been close to sensational nearly every week. I mean, he had a down performance against Seattle 2 weeks ago, but he's involved enough where with those targets, I mean, 7 targets last week, 41 receiving yards. Those are fantastic numbers. We've seen Christian McCaffrey, like Jason said, he's the number 13 running back in a half-point scoring format because he's getting pass attempts and a bunch of targets, and that's what's happening for Chris Thompson as well. 7, 6, 9. I mean, he has one game under 5 targets, and that was week 4.
Yeah, I think Chris Thompson is a good player, but I disagree. I do not think Chris Thompson can finish as the RB1. A lot of his current ranking
is RB1.
No, and RB1.
And RB1.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you said the.
Sorry.
I was like, definitely.
Yeah,
not.
I don't call him that.
No. I don't think he'll finish as a top 12 running back, and the reason why is because he is currently a top 12 running back off of the first 3 weeks. Those first 3 weeks where he was unbelievable. He had 4 touchdowns in those first 3 weeks. Anyone know how many touchdowns he's had since then? That's been a long time. He's got 1.
But he also has another game of over 100 receiving yards. Another game,
that's where he's getting the targets and the usage to be valuable. I started off by saying I like Chris Thompson. I'd like him to be on my roster, but I think Chris Thompson is much more of an RB2. He's not going to be the guy that I think gets enough touchdowns throughout the rest of this season to
justify
keep him as an RB1.
Well, I mean, I guess, Mike, the right question then is, would you feel comfortable with him as your RB1?
Oof.
If you rolled him out there.
Right.
That's kind of the game you play with pass-catching running backs. Even McCaffrey, 2 touchdowns through the air, very limited yardage last week. I kind of wince a little bit when I think about him being my number one running back option.
Yeah, the thing about if a guy like Thompson is your number one running back, that means that your 2 is not necessarily that far behind. Like, I'm not rolling out Chris Thompson and then my running back 2 is Thomas Rawls. I have a guy who is in that running back 2 range, the way that it should have worked out by him being free on waivers, and if you've been managing your schedule or your team.
I think if Chris Thompson is your RB1 on your fantasy team, you're not making the playoffs.
Okay. One of the big things that we know, look, we talked about Wentz and we've talked about Smith, Goff, their success, their efficiency, their lack of turnovers, that's directly affected the Alshon Jeffries of the world, the Robert Woods and Todd Gurley and Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. On the other side is the failure of big-time quarterbacks and the big implications that failure brings about. I found this incredible stat. Now, Big Ben Roethlisberger, he has struggled this year. He has a passer rating of 5.9 when under pressure. Tom Brady has a passer rating of 112.3 when under pressure.
It's not often you hear the single digit in reference to a passer rating. Like when you're terrible and you're like, man, he's really bad. He's got a passer rating of like 46. He's got a passer rating of what, Andy?
5.9 when under pressure.
Are you sure it's not 50?
Now, he said he had thought about retiring before the season. That kind of a rating is retiring during the season.
Yes.
Now, I looked at this. Turnover percentage. Brought it up earlier. Jared Goff, only 5 turnovers on the year. Drew Brees, Tyrod Taylor, Tom Brady, and Alex Smith, all under 5. Better than that. 3 of the bottom 5 in the league in turnover percentage. Big Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton in succession. So you've got the connected weapons of Brown, Lev Bell, Martavis, Juju, Matt Ryan, and Devonta Freeman, and Julio Jones, and then Andy Dalton, who has been pretty darn bad. 12 turnovers this year. A.J. Green's felt that at times. The weapons, losing Eifert, I get it. But what do we think about the rest of season, predictions in terms of the weapons for these 3 guys that have struggled immensely? These were offenses we expected to be great, especially Pittsburgh. We expected them to not just – look, they're winning games, so maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the narrative in the public isn't big on them failing or struggling, but from a fantasy perspective, we thought high-flying top 5 performances.
Yeah, for Big Ben, this is you got to wash the hands.
Just move on.
Walk away. Matt Ryan has been playing better as of lately. He's in that bottom percentage you said for turnovers, but in the last 4 games, he only has 2 picks. And in the last 3 weeks, he's thrown at least 2 touchdowns per game. So I think that things are looking up. They're improving for Matt Ryan, and that includes a performance against Carolina, so where he threw 313 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I do think that for Matt Ryan, it's going to get better. It's not that top 5, top 6 guy that you were hoping for coming off of last year with the changes to the offense and the offensive coordinator. But I think that Matt Ryan is for the rest of the year, he's that kind of low-end quarterback one that you can play on a weekly basis.
That lends itself to kind of the buy low on Julio argument that was made on this show a couple of weeks ago, I believe by you, Jason.
Yeah, I'm certainly I've recommended scooping up Julio in a lot of different leagues. Mike is right in the sense that
that's my last name.
There you go, Mike. Mike's right.
Hey-oh.
That what some of those interceptions that happened earlier in the years, those kind of directly stole touchdowns away from Matt Ryan. But if you look at his yards, his completion percentage, other things, there should be a bounce back for him. And we've seen that over the last few weeks. I expect to continue to see that as the season progresses.
One of the more interesting stats that I looked at yesterday was what teams' wide receivers have the most touchdowns. So what teams lead the way in terms of wide receiver touchdowns. And I was really surprised to see the number 1 team had 5 more receiving touchdowns at the wide receiver position than any other team in the league, and that's the Houston Texans.
You should not be. Yeah, thank you. I'd pour one out for the Houston Texans. I mean, you should not be with Will Fuller on that 60 touchdown pace, and Hopkins just smashing it. D. Watt. I mean, he still lives on. Deshaun Watson lives on
in the
those
past
stats.
in those stats. Yeah. So
ghost touchdowns.
DeAndre Hopkins, his place in the fantasy universe has been highly, debated over the last couple of years.
Place. Yeah,
you had the amazing, first half and breakout. Then you had last year. It didn't seem like he could overcome. Now you have him being force-fed targets. The touchdowns, look, that's a little bit outside the norm, being at 18 compared to the rest of the league. But what is Hopkins' place in the fantasy universe now that you've seen him perform the last couple of weeks, and how do you look at him from a dynasty perspective? I mean, if Deshaun Watson is there, is he a top 5 dynasty pick?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because Deshaun Watson,
Beckham, Evans, you put Hopkins in that mix.
Yeah, I would absolutely put him in there with the sensation that is Deshaun Watson. He'll be back next year.
Deshaun Watson is currently the quarterback 7. He has not played the last few weeks. He is ahead of Jared Goff, who has averaged 40 points a week while Deshaun Watson's been gone, and that's how far Deshaun Watson was ahead of people. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, great dynasty asset. Watson is
I think it's more we knew he was a great dynasty asset. It just was where did he fit in that pantheon of greatness, where with the quarterback problems that they were having, and there was, you didn't know if there was going to be a solution there, but they have a solution.
Before the season, the idea of taking Hopkins over Amari Cooper would have been foolish. Amari Cooper has a long-term quarterback in place. They're both young, great, prospects. But now with Deshaun Watson, it's clearly Hopkins.
That begs a question. Hopkins is 25 years old, okay? Odell Beckham Jr. is 25 years old. Same age. Odell Beckham Jr.'s quarterback situation is completely in question now. There may be a different quarterback taking snaps behind center in as soon as a week or two in New York, the way that they're playing, in the way that they need to see what they have with Davis Webb ahead of a draft. You might have a rookie quarterback next year. I feel like if we are questioning Hopkins' place in the world based on quarterback, what do you do with a guy like Beckham? I know the talent should supersede, but we've seen Hall of Famers like Larry Fitzgerald in the doldrums of mediocre stats for multiple years because of their quarterback. Are you looking at that situation with concern as a dynasty owner?
I would not. I'm not overly concerned because Eli Manning has not been very good for years, and Odell Beckham has been incredible. And the good news for the Giants, they're well on their way to a top 3 pick, so they'll have their pick of the litter.
That is really good news for Odell Beckham.
He'll be coming back from injury too.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him.
Thursday night football, the 6-3 somehow. Tennessee Titans. Do they feel like a 6-3 team?
No,
because they started off bad and they've won 4 straight.
So the Titans are 6-3. They take on the Steelers 7-2. We've talked quite a bit about the Steelers on the show. What are the storylines in this game that you're looking forward to see? The Steelers are 7-point favorites at home, 44-point over/under, and we know that the Titans' defense has struggled against quarterback or wide receivers in fantasy. So, are you lining up Brown and Schuster and saying, go get them?
Absolutely. I think this is a matchup where both weapons will be good. This is Big Ben at home against a defense that is they're not that great. Now, this is Dick LeBeau's, revenge game.
Revenge game.
As the defensive coordinator for the Titans coming back to Pittsburgh. But, I truly believe that Big Ben has a good game and that Juju Smith-Schuster is a star. Rest of season, I think he's going to be great. I play him and Antonio Brown. If I had them both on my roster, I'd start both. That's how I feel about him.
Over on the Tennessee side, DeMarco Murray's coming off, a big fantasy day, not necessarily the most efficient or a great running back day, but the two rushing touchdowns and the pass catching touchdown really saved fantasy players. They're going up against the Steelers defense, who was allowing under 15 points a game.
I'd be trying to avoid Titans.
Yeah, I would
on
too.
the road. Game script doesn't lend itself. Vegas line doesn't lend itself. I think I'd be working to avoid them. Even though DeMarco Murray had that big week, I'm much more, I'll chase points when the yardage and involvement,
Right.
not necessarily the touchdowns. I think I've made the decision in our league of record to go Crabtree over DeMarco Murray in my flex position, just because I'm concerned that this is going to turn into a game that has to be on the arm of Marcus Mariota, and he does have plenty of weapons outside the running backs with Rashard Matthews and Eric Decker, Corey Davis, and Delaney Walker. Do you share that concern with DeMarco Murray, Jason?
I don't.
Okay.
I think
All
DeMarco
right.
Murray is fine. I realized that his efficiency wasn't there last week. 14 for only 42, but 14 carries, adding in 4 receptions. Receptions are really valuable. He was involved in the passing game, had 30 yards in the passing game, and a receiving touchdown. I'm not concerned with DeMarco at all. I think that what we experienced the very beginning of the year and what we saw in that middle stretch with the injuries has scared people too far away from DeMarco. DeMarco, to me, is a must-start weekly player. That's how I see him.
Okay. Give me something to think about.
Yeah, now
I think my only must play from the Titans is Walker at the tight end position.
You guys want to jump into the mailbag?
Let's do it.
Mailbag.
You guys disappointed in Keenan Allen this year? Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
what was that?
I
We saw
closed-
into the.
If you're watching on YouTube, I tried to start the question and he threw up the 1 second finger. Like
I had the
pause.
eyes closed.
Yeah.
I was in the world of rock. Me and
we were in the world of Mike Wright's stomach.
Yeah.
We were.
I felt like that was a burp.
Yeah.
You managed to finish your
Burp
mailbag.
rock. It's what the kids are into these days. Mm-hmm. Belch
rock?
Yeah.
I love Michael Keaton. Okay. All
I've
right.
derailed you.
We're
I
in the
apologize.
mailbag, right? That's what we're doing. If you want to submit a question, thefantasyfootballers.com, 302-464-TFFB is the voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. All right. Here's a question. This one comes in from Emily in Eugene.
Oh.
Mike Evans or Julio Jones rest of season?
It's a 12-team PPR. It's Julio Jones.
I agree.
Yeah.
Julio's got his quarterback. Mike Evans has they've both been a bit up and down, but we just talked about Matt Ryan's playing better. Who knows if Winston is coming back for Tampa Bay, so I'll go Julio.
I'm laughing at this next question. Trevor in Connecticut, I play my fiance this week. I'm 8-2 and she's 5-5.
Uh-oh.
I'm pretty much a lock for the playoffs.
No.
So a loss wouldn't hurt too bad, and my fiance is a lot more happy when she wins. Is it okay to throw this game?
No.
Trevor, for the good of your league, you cannot do this.
You know what? I'll say this.
Check yourself before you wreck your league.
For the good of your marriage, also don't do this. You can't be you got to be able to play
Imagine living your life with that lie
right
forever.
forever and holding on to that, knowing what you have done.
We're not patronizers here.
No.
We don't patronize. Look, I understand life might be a little easier, but long term, she'll be a better player if you play your best players, and your league, you can't have collusion.
She's 5-5, you're 8-2. If you play your best, there's still a chance you might lose.
Of course.
So do your best, and then she can be even happier knowing that you didn't. Trust me.
Worst
if you
case, you've
gift
got
this,
a lot more time
if-
on your hands to focus on fantasy football
If you gift it to
when you're
her,
single.
she could end up being, really angry.
Trevor, here's what you do though.
She'll whoop you in the playoffs if you give her this game.
This is what you got to do. You got to empty out that starting roster just until right before kickoff.
Oh, so you want the troll.
Yes. Do it, Trevor.
Taking it to the
Do
other-
it, Trevor.
At Patch Adams, 36.
Is there a question mark on that?
What is the best way to organize your playoffs? Bye weeks, number of teams, stuff like that.
Before we answer this question, it is definitely Patams?
Yeah.
Not Patch.
Patch Adams. He saw
But it's P-A-D-A-M-S. Patch.
Patch. P-A-D. Patch. Okay. Oh, my bad. All
Are we answering the
what,
question?
What is the best way to organize the playoffs? Buys, number of teams, stuff like that. It depends on your league size first and foremost. You can't give a one-size-fits-all. If you have a 10-team league versus a 12 versus a 14, different amount of teams usually make playoffs. The most common league size is 12 teams. In that, I think what we prefer, the Ballers' preferred method, would be to have
six
teams make the playoffs, and you have divisions so that you have division winners that get an auto in, and the top two records, they get the bye. Mm-hmm. So it's basically 3 weeks of playoffs, and this is really, really, really important, 14, 15, and 16. You do not play the playoffs in week 17, and that is a universal rule in all league sizes. And then the first week in 14 is a bye week for those top two teams. Anything missing there or helpful to add?
Nope, you're good, man. Nailed it. Patch Adams.
Dylan in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's your hometown, right, Brooks? Close to it?
Home state.
Yeah.
Right. Kalamazoo.
Corey Davis versus
Kalamazoo's a state?
Juju Smith-Schuster, considering matchups. So would you rather have Corey Davis or Juju?
That's an interesting question.
I'm
going to go with Juju.
I'm going to go with
You're going to go to the targets?
Corey Davis. Give me the one. This is just look.
It's
fair. I have a weakness.
Yeah.
In my fantasy game, and it is with leaning on those wide receiver twos. But give me the one.
I'm going to take the
Juju's the 3, by the way.
In
Target
the
one,
passing game?
Target
Yes.
1 is Brown. Target 2 is Lev Bell. Target 3 is Juju.
I'm going to take Juju because the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is very good, and look, I really like Corey Davis. I like him long term a lot, but this is not a good matchup for him, and you're not even sure that he is the one.
This is just for this week?
No, the title of the question is rest of season.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh.
Rest of season. Yeah, and that is why
I still go with Juju.
I switched then. I do,
You
and
go
I
Corey
like.
Davis? Okay.
I'm a Stars born Juju.
Wow.
But I think Corey Davis has the potential to be. I'm with
to
Andy
be
in the
what
argument.
Juju is doing right now?
no, to
what
be much
what
better.
Juju has
much
done the
better.
last 2 weeks, sure, but that's no guarantee that he'll continue doing it the rest of the season. I believe in the number one argument. Juju can't be the number one wide receiver on his team rest of season
I
unless
feel like
Antonio Brown goes
we have
down.
touched some kind of magic gem, and we have switched bodies because I'm over here supporting Juju over Corey Davis.
Well, listen, Foot Clan, I love Juju, so don't take this as a sign of my disbelief in Juju. Take it as a sign of what I see
Believe
as
about.
the potential in Corey Davis.
Mike, you want to go rest of the season? It seems like a fun bet to me. Juju versus
In standard scoring?
Corey Davis
As the question.
in standard scoring.
Yeah. All right, go
and
ahead.
starting from week 11, Brooks. You got that?
It's starting from 2 weeks ago. Put it on the board. Yes!
I'm not giving you 2 weeks ago.
But I said that, and then you push the button.
Define rest of season.
It is a binding contract.
I'm going to side with Andy on this one. However, I am not in the bet. I will not bet against Juju.
Yeah.
That would create a lot of bad.
Oh, don't do it.
Armand in Texas.
Juju.
No, he did it.
In a full PPR, I just got proposed Jay Ajayi for my AJ Green. My remaining wide receivers are Tate, Baldwin, Thielen. Current running backs are Hunt, CJ, and Mixon. Thanks, year-round listener. What would you do? That is a tight decision.
Yes.
And I would
in a
actually
PPR?
I think I would accept the offer. I do not have confidence that C.J. Anderson and Joe Mixon are going to be the accompaniment that you want with Kareem Hunt. And I do think Tate, Baldwin, and Thielen are enough to get it done. The targets for those three players are top 10 in the league targets. I would actually do the trade and put confidence in Ajayi and that Philadelphia offense, which is a rarity. I don't know if I've ever said on the show I'd trade A.J. Green.
And I would not trade A.J. Green in this at a full-point PPR. I get your argument. I think the place we disagree is that Hunt as a locked-in one, you're good with. I think Mixon is an absolutely fine two, and I also believe that when the schedule opens up later in the year for C.J. Anderson, you're going to be able to have some spot starts there. Losing A.J. Green is for sure a detriment, no doubt. Now, Jay Ajayi could end up being a great back for Philly. But there's still question marks there that I'm not sure of. So for that reason, I would not take the trade. So, Mike, you got to split that difference.
I believe in J.H.I. moving forward, but paying A.J. Green right now, the proven stud of A.J. Green for the hope that is J.H.I., I'm not into that.
Switch your offer to Baldwin.
I was just going to say, do you guys want to offer Tate or Baldwin?
If you're going to try to switch Green out, you go for the player that has been blowing up the most.
Tate?
Yeah. So probably ends up being Tate. You offer him Tate and Baldwin. I don't care which one. If you
Right.
can trade out Green for any of those other options, if you can trade out Green for, I don't know how many you start. That's the problem.
Let's assume it's a 3 wide.
Okay. Well, then I'm not going to say offer 2 of
Oh,
them.
no. You definitely cannot offer 2.
So
Yeah, but if you could trade Tate or Baldwin and maybe plus a bench asset.
or Mixon.
No.
Yeah, because if you get Ajayi back and you have Hunt, CJ, and Ajayi.
Yeah, maybe.
So like Baldwin Mixon for J.J.I.? That's
No,
That's a heavy
Baldwin's
price.
the player I want most of those 3. So
really?
I'd
Oh,
probably
okay.
offer Thielen or Tate.
Man.
Tate's a little outlier on the touchdowns right now with the big plays. I'd probably, it'd be nice to keep Green. Seth in Grand Rapids, Michigan, last question. Titled this one, De-Scrumptious.
Oh!
Would you rather have Emmanuel Sanders or Devin Scrumptious rest of season?
Whew. Standard 10-teamer. I'm going with Devin Scrumptious.
I
love Sanders. Love
Sanders is officially my favorite player to watch in the NFL, but I am going with Devin S. Scrumptious.
I would say in this case, I'm probably going to go with Devin Scrumptious.
Any questions?
We have major problems.
We are buffoons.
major problems. Thank you for tuning in. Please
I hope you have major problems
Please
with
do it
us.
again. I hope you were dancing along with us there. Draft.com/ballers, the website to go to for DFS plays this week. Take
Goodbye.
care.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.